You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I have to start with the Jets cutting Pierre Desir. You may be wondering why I'm starting with him. Well, 3 reasons. Number 1, not a lot happened in the last 24 hours in sports. Number 2, the Jets are my favorite football team. And number 3, it's indicative of the stupidity of Joe Douglas. This is something I saw coming. You can go back and listen to the old shows. I was screaming for the Jets to go after corners. I wanted Byron Jones. I wanted C.J. Henderson. I wanted Logan Ryan. I wanted everyone. I could see the writing on the wall. But no, Joe Douglas knew better. He went bargain hunting. And that meant that he went out and signed Pierre Desir to a 1-year deal worth a maximum of $5.5 million. Desir was expected to play a very meaningful role for the Jets. He was out there on every play this year. He was signed with the expectation that he could be a starting cornerback. I'm not saying that's right. It was incredibly stupid to think it could work. But that was Joe Douglas's expectation. And let me tell you, the Colts couldn't wait to get rid of him. Desir's last year with the Colts, he had a 58.8 overall grade, according to Pro Football Focus. Of course the Colts wanted to let him go. He's even worse with the Jets. 47.8 was his overall grade this year. So here's a guy who comes in and is the biggest acquisition that Joe Douglas makes on defense. And he doesn't even make it through the season. If that doesn't scream stupidity, I don't know what does. I mean, how on earth do you allow this guy to stay as GM next year? This team's going to go 0-16. I don't care that he was signed to a 6-year contract. You know what? Woody Johnson didn't sign him to that. And Johnson's going to be coming back. I'm not saying that Johnson is, Robert Kraft. But he's a million times better than Chris Johnson. Woody Johnson actually knows a little bit about football. He's not a savant when it comes to football. There are smarter owners than him. But compared to his brother, he's Vince Lombardi. Woody Johnson's coming in as an outsider. He didn't make any of these moves. Bringing in Gase, bringing in Douglas. This is essentially a new owner. taking over the Jets. What do new owners do? They clean house. They bring in their own guys. At least I hope that's how he approaches it. I'd like to think he will. I have no proof that he will, but hey, time will tell. Now, there are some Jets fans that would be okay with bringing Douglas back. Every Jets fan on earth wants Adam Gase gone. And I'm with you. There is no way that Adam Gase should be the head coach of this team next year. He shouldn't even be coaching against the Chargers. But there are actually some Jets fans that would be okay if they brought back Joe Douglas. Forget what you think they're going to do. In a perfect world, they want Joe Douglas back. Dominic Arbolino, who's been on this show before, tweeted a while ago that he thinks Douglas is a good GM. Dominic, I love you, buddy. I really do. But quarantine is getting to you. If you really think that Joe Douglas is a good GM, please go outside. You've been cooped up at home for too long. You've got to get some fresh air, buddy. Oh, man. This guy has been an abject failure with the Jets. He took a team that was 7-9, and in his first full off season as Jets GM, turned them into the worst team in the NFL. A team that's probably going to go 0-16. Now, what's the seminal reason for that? It's not Adam Gase. It's not Sam Darnold. The reason that the Jets are most likely going to go 0-16 is Joe Douglas's failure to improve this defense. The offense, Darnold deserves some of the blame. Certainly Adam Gase has not done as good a job as you'd have liked him to do. That's the understatement of the year. And I'll actually give Douglas a little bit of credit. His moves on offense this past offseason worked. Robbie Anderson is having a much better year than Brashad Perryman, but you know what? When Perryman's been healthy, he's actually been okay. He had the big game a couple weeks ago against the Patriots. Against the Dolphins, he looked pretty good. Robbie Anderson is better. Okay, Douglas never should have let Anderson walk. But when you look at Perryman and just Perryman, when he's been on the field, he's been okay. I don't hate Perryman. I really don't. Denzel Mims was a great pick. Everyone loved it. No one thought he'd get hurt right away. And let me tell you, in the short time that we've seen Mims, he looks like he's going to be a really good player in this league for a long time. In 3 games, he has 10 catches for 146 yards. That's really good. And the offensive line, for the most part, has actually been solid. Mekhi Becton looks like he's going to be a franchise left tackle. Alex Lewis is a really good run blocker. He gets penalized a lot, but you take the good with the bad. Greg Van Roten and George Fant are solid. They're not great, they're not terrible. Okay, Jacob, what does this have to do with Pierre Desir? Well, I'm getting there. I spoke about Douglas's successes this offseason, let me talk about his failures. Trusting Desir over going after a guy like Byron Jones. Trusting Desir over going after a guy like Logan Ryan. Trusting that Greg Williams could elevate this defense full of guys who wouldn't be in the NFL if not for the Jets. To competence. Talent wins over scheme in the NFL. Joe Douglas took a bunch of guys, threw them at Greg Williams and said, make lemonade out of these spoiled lemons. That's not going to work. Do I like Greg Williams? No. But I do feel bad for him in that sense. He was set up to fail. There's no way that anyone, Tom Landry, Bill Belichick, whoever, could turn Pierre Desir and these garbage corners into anything good. Brian Poole is a good player. But he's out for the year, because of course he is. I really hope the Jets bring him back, though. Poole was the lone bright spot of all their corners. I mean, now on Sunday, the Jets are going to trot out a cornerback group of Bless Austin, Lamar Jackson, Bryce Hall, Javelin Guidry, Corey Ballantyne, and Arthur Mollett. There are colleges that are going to play on Saturday that have a better cornerback group than the Jets will have on Sunday. There is no NFL corner among those guys. And cornerback is such an important position. Do you really need me to tell you that? Realize, the Jets have no pass rush. So you've got to send blitzing linebackers towards the quarterback. That means that the cornerbacks are in man-to-man situations. None of these corners should be trusted in man-to-man situations. These guys aren't Darrelle Revis. They're not Antonio Cromartie. They're not Dwight Lowry, Drew Coleman, any of the old Rex Ryan guys. None of these guys, with the exception of Bryce Hall, who I really liked coming out of Virginia. He got hurt to start the season. I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass. But with the exception of him and Poole, there are no corners that the Jets have that should be back with the Jets next year. You have a nickel corner and a fourth corner. That's it. You've got to find 2 new starting corners. Good luck, new GM. How could you think that Desir would work? How could you think that Quincy Wilson would work? How could you think that Bless Austin was going to take this big leap? It was doomed to fail. Jadeveon Clowney, we don't want him. Yannick Ngakoue, we don't want him. Dante Fowler, we don't want him. All the attention is going to the Jets offense. And look, I get it. This offense was supposed to be really good. Sam Darnold was supposed to take a big jump. Adam Gase was supposed to coach him up. Le'Veon Bell, remember him? Jamison Crowder, Mims, Perryman, all these guys were going to help the Jets to competence on offense. It hasn't worked. But at least the Jets have some building blocks on offense. Mims, Crowder, maybe Perryman, and the whole offensive line with the exception of McGovern. So that's 6 or 7, depending on how you feel about Perryman. Who are the building blocks that the Jets have on defense? They have a solid defensive line. John Franklin Myers, Quinnen Williams, and Foley Fatukasi. Okay, that's 3 right there. Marcus May, 4. Brian Poole, 5. That's it. That's literally it. I can't put Bryce Hall in that group. I have no idea if he's going to turn into anything special. Ashton Davis? Absolutely not. Jabari Zuniga? Absolutely not. CJ Mosley? You have no idea how he's going to play coming back from sitting out the year because of COVID concerns. I'm talking about guys who you know for a fact can be good players on playoff teams. The Jets have more offensive guys in that regard than defensive guys. Douglas spent all his time focusing on offense, none on defense. You're seeing the results. Every freaking week, the Jets' defense gets gashed. Brett Rippon puts up 37 points against them. Ryan Fitzpatrick puts up 24. Cam Newton puts up 30. This Jets defense is a joke. It is comprised of terrible players. Douglas did nothing to help out Greg Williams. Just like I feel sorry for Gase, I feel sorry for Greg Williams. I'm not saying that Gase and Williams are without blame, but they're getting most of the aggro. It should be going to Douglas. Douglas is inept. He doesn't get it. You can put solid pieces together on offense all you want. If you put up 27 points, you can't give up 30. If you put up 28 points, you can't give up 37. Has the offense been bad? No question. Sam Darnold is a bust. Letting Robbie Anderson walk was a criminal offense. But again, at least the Jets have some solid pieces on offense. Crowder, Mims, Becton, Lewis, Van Roten, Fant. Those guys are solid. I'll take them next year. On defense, it's the defensive line, May, and Poole. That's it. That's not enough. There's no way that Joe Douglas should be trusted to put a roster around Trevor Lawrence. Woody Johnson, please fire Joe Douglas. Clean house. He doesn't get it. He doesn't know how to properly build a football team. Case in point, the anemic Pierre Desir. A guy who was trusted to be a starting cornerback and got burned every freaking game. Against the Broncos, it was infuriating. The guy had 2 interceptions, but he gave up like 2 touchdowns. One of those interceptions was a pick 6. It was unreal. It was the most crazy game I've ever seen. To Pierre Desir, I say good riddance. To Joe Douglas, I say that this was predictable. The collapse of this defense was predictable. You are inept. You deserve this 0-16. And as far as I'm concerned, you should never work in the NFL again, in any capacity. I wouldn't even hire you to clean the toilets. You have ran this team into the ground. You are the seminal reason that the Jets are going to go 0-16. And to all the Jets fans out there listening to this, if you can't see that, shame on you. Moving on now to an extension that we learned about the other day, but now the details are official. The Dolphins signed Zach Seiler, not sure how he pronounces it, to a 3-year extension worth $8,041,000. You can't forget that $41,000. This is a great story. Here's a guy who was a 7th-round pick out of Ferris State. Do you know where Ferris State is? Don't feel bad. I didn't either. I had to look it up. It's in Michigan. He was originally picked by the Ravens. Never really got much of a chance there. He got cut. The Dolphins picked him up last year because what they did was actually really smart. When they were tanking, they brought in all these young players, especially on defense, and said, you know what? We're going to give you guys a chance. If you succeed, you'll be back next year. If not, we're going to get rid of you. It's on you right now. You have to prove it. Well, Seiler really proved it. He has a 60.5 overall grade according to Pro Football Focus, but it should be higher. Here's a guy who's actually living in an RV. He doesn't even have a house. The guy lives in an RV. Well, with $8,041,000, he can buy himself a house. A house with a big garage that can house an RV, if he really wants to keep it. I think I read a story once that said he actually really likes the RV. I mean, it beats living on the streets, obviously, but I think he'd prefer to live in a home. But he's making the best of it. I really think he likes the RV lifestyle. Good for him. He's a fan favorite in Miami. I know that. This is a great story. It's easy to get behind. This is a good move for the Dolphins. They know how to build a defense. The Jets don't. Because of that, the Dolphins are actually in the playoff hunt. Whereas the Jets will be lucky to be in the playoff hunt in the next 2 to 3 seasons. The way they're currently constructed. Alright, now I'll give you some baseball Valk talk. According to John Morosi of MLB.com, the Pirates have received calls on Steven Brault. Whereas some players really struggled with the shortened season, Brault thrived. Here's a guy who never finished with an ERA under 4.6 in the majors. Last year, he went 1-3 with a 3.38 ERA. In 10 starts, he only gave up 2 home runs. He's not a strikeout pitcher, but he is a lefty. I'm not surprised that teams are interested in him. Now, in 2019, he started 19 games and went 4-6 with a 5.16 ERA. I don't think Brault is a great pitcher, but you can do worse if you're looking for a 4th or 5th starter than Brault. I'd be hesitant to give up anything more than a top 20 to top 25 prospect for him. I'm not crazy about Brault. I like that he's a lefty. I like that he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Maybe he's finally putting it all together, but he's got to do it again in a real season. I'd be really hesitant to give up a lot for him. Alright, so if I was to end the show here, it would be really, really short. I gave you 2 long shows earlier this week, but that's still no excuse to give you a really short show. So, is it time for the trifecta? No, it's not. I'm going to do something that I never thought I'd do. I have to bring back a former semi-recurring segment. I have to revise decades of dumbass decisions. I just want you to focus on the left side of the bracket. The Islanders and Jets. I'm leaving the Yankees alone. I'm leaving the Nets alone. If you look at the Jets, you'll notice a glaring omission. Now, when I did this, there's no way we knew for sure that we'd add this guy, but it's time. Sam Darnold needs to be included. It's not Joe Douglas. It's not Adam Gase. It has to be Darnold. And the reason for that is really simple. Look at what the Jets gave up for him. To move up just 3 spots. That's it. From 6 to 3, they gave up a gargantuan package. They gave up 6th overall, 37th overall, 49th overall in 2018, and their second rounder in 2019 that turned out to be the 34th overall pick. If the Jets had stood pat at 6, they could have taken Josh Allen. Darnold probably wouldn't have been there. I don't think the Broncos would have passed on him. The top 6 of that draft, without the trade up to 3 by the Jets, would have been Browns, Giants, Colts, Browns, Broncos, Jets. You've got to realize, 2018, the Colts still have Andrew Luck. They have no idea that the year after he's going to retire. They're not taking a quarterback. The Browns just took Baker Mayfield. They're not going to take another quarterback. The Broncos probably would have. I don't think they would have rolled with Case Keenum if Darnold was still on the board. So with the Jets picking at 6, they could have had Josh Allen or Josh Rosen. Rosen probably would have busted. Josh Allen has had a really good NFL career so far. His rookie season, he wasn't that good. 2019, he made the playoffs. And this year, he's currently leading the NFL in passing yards. He's completed just under 68.5% of his passes, 21 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. The Bills are probably going to win the AFC East. Now, it brings up an interesting question. Would Josh Allen be as successful with the Jets as he is with the Bills? We'll never know for sure, but talent wins over scheme in the NFL. Think whatever you want about Adam Gase, but a talented quarterback can rise above bad coaching. Peyton Manning did it a lot. Andrew Luck did it a lot. Aaron Rodgers did it a lot. Is it a guarantee that Allen would have been successful with the Jets? No. But I think he would have. Let's put it this way. If you put Russell Wilson on this year's Jets, they're winning some games. It's just that simple. But you have to take everything in totality. Remember what Darnold did his first ever pass in the NFL? He rolled out to his right, threw across his body, got picked off by Quandre Diggs, and Diggs ran it back for a pick six. Right then and there, you had to know he was going to fail. It was on Rosh Hashanah. I left Rosh Hashanah dinner early to watch that game. Now, the Jets ended up winning. They won 48-17. But that's a bad omen. Darnold, on week 3 of that season, was the quarterback of the Jets when the Browns snapped their epic losing streak. He deserves some blame for that. Week 4, Jeff Fisher was on color commentary. I will never forget what Jeff Fisher said at the end of that game. Jets-Jaguars. The Jaguars won 31-12. Fisher said, Jets fans, you can rest easy. You have your guy. Sam Darnold's the real deal, or something to that effect. Right then and there, you had to know he was going to bust. An endorsement from Jeff Fisher is the kiss of death. Darnold gets hurt, because of course he does. He comes back against the Bills and leads the Jets on a game-winning drive. His last 4 games, he looked really impressive. Yes, the Jets went 1-3, but Darnold looked like the real deal. Fast forward to 2019. Darnold gets mono. How on earth do you get mono as an NFL quarterback? That's the kiss of death right there. If it's not the Fisher comment, it's the fact that he got mono. My parents were at a charity dinner. I didn't realize how serious mono could be. I had a friend that had mono, and he was out of it for a few days, but he bounced back. I didn't realize how serious it was. I called my mom, who's a doctor, at the charity dinner, and I asked her, okay, I'm hearing really bad things about mono. You have to tell me what I can expect from Sam Darnold getting mono. And she painted the gloomiest picture possible. And you know what? She was right. Darnold returns against the Cowboys, and the Jets look great. See, here's the thing with Darnold. He has moments where he makes you believe, and then he follows it up with duds. You've got to be consistent as an NFL quarterback. That's not Sam Darnold. After the Cowboys win, the Jets played the Patriots on Monday Night Football. The Jets got destroyed. They lost 33-0. Sam Darnold saw ghosts. The first half of that season, the Jets went 1-7. They rebounded to go 6-2 in their last 8. Like I said, something to build on. This year, Darnold has been horrendous. He's already missed 3 games. He's going to miss the Chargers game. In Darnold's 3 seasons in the NFL, he's missed at least 3 games each year. He is a bust. It's just that simple. When we look back at the history of the Jets, we're going to look back at Darnold as one of the biggest busts in the team's history, if not the biggest bust in the team's history. When we're looking back at it, he'll be worse than Gase. At the end of the day, Darnold's the quarterback. He's the one out there throwing the ball, making those bad decisions. It's not Gase. Talent wins over scheme. You can put the best coach in the NFL around a bad quarterback, and you know what? That quarterback isn't going to do so well. You have countless examples of that. Bill Belichick, for my money, is the best head coach in NFL history. Look at the Patriots right now. They're 4-5. I like Ron Rivera a lot. Washington's 2-7. I think Doug Peterson's a good coach. The Eagles are 3-5-1. It's more on Darnold than it is Gase. I can't put Joe Douglas on there because it's possible he's back next year and maybe, just maybe, he can build something special. I'm extremely skeptical of that. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's still technically possible. It's impossible that Gase is going to do anything special. He's going to be gone next year. Same thing with Darnold. I have to put Sam Darnold on decades of dumbass decisions. As I was revising the Jets side of things, I looked at the Islanders side of things, and I had the light bulb moment. I forgot something. I'm, really embarrassed to admit this, but it's the truth. The Marty McGinnis trade, as bad as it was, Robert Reichel was a solid player. Not as good as McGinnis, but he was solid. There's no way that trade is worse than the 2016 offseason. In 2016, the Islanders advanced to the second round for the first time since 1993. Now, granted, they lost to the Lightning in 5 games, but they were in the second round. There's something to build on there. Jack Capuano, at that time, was the second best coach in Islanders history. Now, he's the third best. Barry Trotz has moved ahead of him. The Islanders entered that offseason with 3 key free agents: Kyle Okposo, Franz Nielsen, and Matt Martin. I said at the time that they needed to bring back 2 of the 3. In a perfect world, they would have brought back all 3, but I'd have settled for 2 of the 3. Instead, Garth Snow, in his infinite wisdom, lets them all go. Okposo goes to the Sabres, Nielsen goes to the Red Wings, and Martin goes to the Maple Leafs. I was in Las Vegas at this time. I've got to stop going to Vegas. Bad things happen to my hockey team there. The Islanders lose 3 big free agents. John Tavares goes to the Leafs. I've got to stop going to Vegas. I don't remember the exact timeline, but I remember where I was when Matt Martin signed with the Leafs. There's a hotel on the Strip called the Venetian, and their shtick is they're like a hotel you'd find in Venice, Italy. It's a really nice hotel. One of the things they do is they have a gondola that you can ride. It's really cool. So I put my phone away and enjoyed the gondola ride. I was with my parents, because that's who you want to ride a gondola with, right? Not your girlfriend, your parents. Man, I was a third wheel. As my dad was getting off the gondola, I got the news that Matt Martin signed with the Leafs. I was this close to throwing my phone into the water. Now you may be asking yourself, who did the Islanders replace those guys with? Good question. The Islanders replaced Matt Martin with Jason Chimera, who only lasted 1.5 years with the Islanders. Franz Nielsen with Alan Quine, who had a good playoffs in 2016, but did nothing after that. In the 16-17 season, he only had 18 points in 61 games. I think he's currently with the Calgary Flames. And they replaced Kyle Okposo with Andrew Ladd. Ladd is currently on one of the worst contracts in the NHL. Naturally, the Islanders followed up that second round appearance by missing the playoffs. Jack Capuano was fired halfway through the season. He was replaced by Doug Weight. Weight was good in an interim role. He was hired in the full-time role. His full year coaching the Islanders, they were dreadful. They were under 500. They missed the playoffs. Thank God for Barry Trotz. So I did redo Decades of Dumbass Decisions. If you want to see the completed, updated bracket, go on my Twitter, @RealJacobValk. Tomorrow, I'm going to recap all the big NBA draft stories. May do a little football, depending on how long the NBA takes me. Until then, I am Jacob Valk saying it could permanently hurt someone for a long time.